right side of the image. It is exactly here, the battlefield. So the relationship, the strange relationship, sometimes also very contradictory between the urban tissue itself and the poor river coastline. What is in this story? You are not, sorry, I'm giving you. Okay, this is the image I was telling you. So the battlefield, what is the main topic of our workshop was exactly in the buffer zone between the limit of the city and the coast of the river. And it is within this buffer zone that is changing its deepness and its dimension, that during the decades the city has put and located many different functions, such as the highway. This one of the group is strongly working on it, that is impacting and is creating quite strange and difficult relationship between the two elements. We have asked the student to work about these 5 guidelines and key points. So geography means to think that our condition, the condition we are discussing in us, that's a question of local situation. It's a question of very large scale situation. So the Po River, with this geographical dimension from the Alps to the Adriatic Sea. Piacenza is a part of it. In this image, you can see it, the urban core of Piacenza here in the south bank of the river. What we have seen, we have discussed, we have analyzed during these days is also the different conditions, different cities along the Po River flows are creating with the water itself. And this image we have tried to think about, well, to discuss with the students about the relationship the city intended as a historical layout is creating with the Apennines on the back, and the Po River is here in the first part of the image. So this is also creating a different relationship with the geography, with the altitude, and also this is another image that suggested a lot our students and our atelier during their works, how the flows itself of the water of the Po has changed during during century and decades. So what we are seeing today, so the Po River is not something stable in its location, but is something that changed and that may be subject to be changed during the next decades. Past and present, it was the condition to understand this relationship, this condition within the different historical moment, historical steps. As you can see in this overlapping of image, where you can get the Castrum Romano, which is the first foundation layout of Piacenza itself, with the 2 streets and Cardan de Romano entering in it. The dimension of is a dimension of geographical and historical element, but as well as an element, is a condition of a border that is a border today is a border of a region between Emilia-Romagna and Lombardia. Historical was quite different condition of border, but this means also that it creates one of the limit that is just one of the limit that we are discovering within the activity and in the landscape and the workshop. These are some historical and quite recent images, such as this one, trying to represent how the river for the city itself was a question of economy, and still is a question of economy, was a question of danger, as you can see in this post, and it's a question also of leisure and uses of the spaces itself. During talking about the history, we have seen the different relationship, historical situation and condition, and here is what you can see with different grays, is exactly the place of contrast. So this buffer zone we are discussing about, from the Trebbia River entering in the Po River on the west of the city of Piacenza. This is the historical city center. To the east, this is the motorway bridge, the bridge of the A1, the motorway connecting Milano with Bologna, Roma, Napoli. This is the area where the students were called to the atelier, and the students were called to work on, to discuss on, to strongly debate about possibilities to go beyond, to bypass the limits itself and to create a different relationship. One of the limits, the strong limit I was mentioning before, it's the viaduct of the A1 motorway. It is one of the atelier, the second one, worked a lot about this subject, because one of the strategic plan you can get clearly here in this image from the Piacenza municipal plan is to bypass the city itself with the sort of ring in the northern part of the city. This can leave one of this limit between the city and the river. It is a question of nature, for sure, the interaction between the Piacenza and the Po. Here in this series of images, you can get walking and cycling along the dike of the Po River, the south dike of the river. You can get how the landscape is strongly changed. This central image, we are very close to the city center, with different the bridges, the viaduct I was mentioning before, and how the agricultural fields and the landscape areas are interacting with infrastructure. These are just some other images, the river, the bridges. This is the railway bridges connecting Milano with Piacenza, and I was mentioning the question of agriculture. In this aerial view is very clear how also in terms of quantities, the texture of agricultural field is so strong within the city, and this is strong, and it is having a sort of contraction here within the area that are strongly object of our work. So in this strip, in this field, there is not the continuity of the agricultural fields. You can see in the southern part of the city, also in the Regione Lombardia area in the north, it is completely stopped by a system of, an overlapping of different type of infrastructure and uses and functions that are in some ways very contradictory with the system itself. And this is, for example, a diagram trying to stress what are the resisting traces of agricultural fields, of agricultural orientation of the fields itself in the city. A continuity of traces, a continuity of lines, a continuity of direction that is strongly impacting on the city itself. This is the last image is trying to show, and this was materials we have given to the different ateliers as a starting point for their discussion and reflection about the topic, how the different infrastructure, this is the viaduct and the motorway, as overlapping during time. This is just covering 50 years time on the agricultural field, creating limits where continuity of fields and continuity of environment was. Landscape of limits so wants also to try to understand how this sequence of limits can be worked on and maybe bypassed. The last point is narration. As you can imagine, most important Italian river, as you know, as we all know, the most important Italian river became during the last century, became the occasion for movies, books, stories, and narrations along the river. And this is one of the elements we have asked the atelier themselves to take into account and to work on. The last image I want to give you, and then we are trying to open well, we are opening the discussion now it sounds like some technical problem was fixed. I hope so. This is our strategic plan. Well, strategy, I mean the battlefield we have given to the Atelier, so the Po River, the Trebbia River. The red line is the dike of containing and limiting the area of the Po, the kingdom of the river from the city, and the dike, you can see, is creating a line that is in the middle. It's one of the limit between different limits. And it is the area where now our students within the different ateliers are giving us some ideas. I hope to have introduced it in the proper way to our colleagues and friends who knows Piacenza maybe not so well, or maybe it's the first time approaching the topics. Now let me just 2 minutes, 1 minute, change location, and we are starting from with Atelier number 1. Thank you very much.
So, hello everybody. Can you hear us out there? We're very excited to be here, and such a wonderful setting. I hope that the audio is not too intense. We're excited to see everybody's work too. We hope that the audio is working right now. Someone has to give us the thumbs up that we can keep going. For you guys connecting from home, it's okay. We hear out there in the church this crazy feedback. Oh, we have a thumbs up from there too. Okay. So hello everybody, we're connecting here from Piacenza. I'm Hope Strode.
Federico di Monfetta for Atelier di Monfetta Strode, and we decided to work in video. So I shouldn't speak too loud, maybe.
There's still audio problems there, but we'll keep going.
We decided to work in this workshop in video format. Okay.
Is it okay?
Excellent. So, well, we're just going to give a quick introduction, which is basically we want to just say that we decided from the beginning to work in the video format because we're interested in working with time. We wanted the students to engage with time, and as everyone knows, in landscape architecture is one of those key elements that affects our landscape. And in particular, go ahead, Piacenza, about the river.
So we asked the students to come together, and we sort of grouped the students so that one student per team was based in Piacenza and able to go actually on site. And so we asked them, the team that was the member that was on site, to use the video as a way of discovering the site, and not only discovering what was there in space, but also the speed at which things moved, the activities that were happening, and these kinds of processes. Then, meanwhile, the groups which were connecting in remotely, the group members were looking at mapping and dynamic mapping and that kind of thing. We have an excellent group of tutors who are with us. There's Erze, who I see here, Susanna also, and Alessandro, who's here helping
physically
to make
right here.
This all work today. And basically for the project, we gave the students a series of constraints that they had to use on the site. The first constraint was the budget. So the idea was that we were working in the site of the Po within this temporary period before the riverfront is redeveloped into a proper park. And so every student has received, each group has received a budget between 5 and 500,000 euros. And so we have projects of varying scale. Some are more temporary installations, others are real kind of structural projects. Then they all received different materials or inputs. Some students received 5,000 trees, other students rocks. And so we have a series of different kind of elements that are appearing that are part of these inputs. The last thing, the key thing is a duration. And so projects, the duration range from 2 weeks to 100 years. So you see kind of different durations represented in the projects over, over, over the studio. And then
So basically, what we wanted to do is to both tell the students both, go ahead, play, and design your project, but at the same time, we wanted with these parameters, we wanted to contaminate a little bit the work of the students in a way that, um, makes it a thoughtful and an exciting exercise. So this was the input that they received from the very beginning. And we also defined, in a final stage, one moment in time when they were to represent their project. So we gave them a precise time, precise day of the year, and a precise weather condition and climatic condition in which they could represent their project. There's no sense in us explaining too much in terms of what you'll see, because I think it's more exciting to see it.
yeah.
And we have 7 teams, so we decided to work in groups of 3 to 4 people. And
Last thing I want to say is that we had daily reviews. And so the students and the tutors and us, we were all really working very intensely. Sometimes twice a day, groups were getting reviews. And so we're really proud of the progress that the students have made, starting with never working in video and now sort of having produced this product. So I think from now we'll play the video. I hope for those of you in the main room here, you can hear it.
And we're excited to hear from all of you reviewers and critics about your feedback and comments.
And they're telling us
to speak up.
To speak up. So hopefully you guys have heard us. Okay.
If not, you'll.
Okay, so now we'll play the video. Hey, Alessandra, just because it's your computer.
Just to share.
Share.
Desktop. Desktop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the last slide.
This
Double
one?
click.
Just open it twice. Okay, and then
This
the
is not.
complete.
And we have sound,
Yep.
right?
After researching the site, we pay attention to the contrast in the site and the surrounding noise. Considering the low budget and our keyword contamination, we decided to make foils in the darkening level to reshape the landscape within the site and add some slight structure which is made of paper tuber using the landscape to redefine the space under the bridge. Activity in the abundant urban public space and providing citizens with a place for leisure activities. Then we can see what will happen in the site in 9 months.
Nature is present in the world in different ways. One is through the third landscape. Third landscape is nature left over by man to evolve free. In the area of Po River, we have different sites that show the presence of third landscape, some abandoned, some unused.
We will introduce you 7 points we choose. An old military building along the road, a boat deck in contact with water, an old landmark in the middle of the park, a pier that goes into water, a sandy beach left over by nature, an old bridge going inside nature, and a heritage water plant. These points create a line that gives identity to the site.
When they come together integrated with the Po River, they reveal its nature. We are enforcing the existing third landscape on the site through the human green sculpture that shows how time passes by. These installations are made within a low budget, so we use Earth movement to create them.
Each point has its own identity that we are enforcing with the third landscape, giving shelter to human and nature. The walkthrough takes you through the third landscapes. We are enforcing the existing third landscape on the site through the human green sculpture that shows how time passes by. These installations are made with low budget, so we use earth movement as a tool to create them.
From this point of view, the third landscape can be considered as the genetic reservoir of the planet, the place of the future.
Microphones collect sounds. Microphones collect sounds. Speakers distribute these sounds. Echo tubes connect microphones and sound wherever possible. Sound rooms are in a new designed pocket park with a focus on vegetation. Parts of echo tubes connect sound rooms from the river to the city. The appealing river and landscape sounds arrive in the Old Town city center. It connects the river and the city. A sound distribution takes place. This mixture of natural sounds persuades residents and visitors to follow the echo tubes down to the river. The initial temporary project from February till October includes the installation of an echo tube sculpture at the river shore. It collects river, meadow and forest sounds. It invites experiencing its functionality. Later, it guides pedestrians' paths and even offers resting opportunities. The Mediterranean Summer Night event draws augmented attention on the river shore's attractiveness. It intends gaining support from the public and investors to extend the echo tubes permanently into the Old Town city center. Sounds in general vary over the seasons. People even hear the underwater concert because of the changing water levels. They spend their leisure time on the river shore. Leisure activities create new sounds. Perspectives show additional artificial sound amplifications in pocket parks at various sites. Besides, pocket parks create new small ecosystems. Enjoy the river and landscape sound in the city.
Becoming Animal fathoms the relationship between man and nature in the contemporary landscape. The proposed environmental infrastructure aims at destabilizing a conventional anthropocentric perspective where man is the center. The visitor is immersed in a multifocal and multisensorial exploration that merges the spheres of the humans, vegetation, animals, inhabiting this highly diverse ecosystem. Encouraging ecological awareness within Piacenza, riverfront, and help capture the long lost natural beauty and ecological diversity that are naturally found on the River Po banks, which is why our main target group is the school children of Piacenza. Our main material is wood, and the intervention consists of wooden walkways of varying width that are used to improve accessibility to the varying green spaces with platforms that provides vistas over Po River, creating a corridor that captures the long lost natural beauty and ecological diversity that is in Piacenza. Some pathways forces the visitors to walk individually to invite for a space for contemplation. It contains the visitor intimately, relating to nature, like a temple. It is a privileged space to understand the totality of the natural world on the human scale. Through our intervention, we are creating a habitat where species can nest in, new landscape ecologies can emerge, and a haven that can nourish the ecosystem through becoming animal.
The approach to regain river poor, concentrating on the case of islands, was with the idea of flooding as an essential dynamic of the public realm. By understanding the geomorphology and the hydrology, along with the parameters of given influences for the site evolution up to a period of 100 years, along with the use of local materials, helped us to achieve our primary aim to convert this project into a stepping stone to nurture a rich regional ecology with controlled flooding on varying landscapes. After analyzing the existing context and issues, the strategies involved in converting these islets and patches of landscape into a sponge base as a driving factor to enhance resilience where the intersection of nature and urbanity takes place, along with the ecological restoration enveloped by the buoyant edges adapting to the flux, and much of the programming is designed to celebrate the river's impulsiveness and leverages frequent flooding events as a vital driver of placemaking. The first aspect of design implementation was the idea of changing courses and topography along with the structure of river dynamics, thereby enforcing the new buffer zone to protect and showcase the increase in biodiversity, leading to the improvement of river quality along with the abaco of wetlands, riparian edges, and vegetated berms, thereby removing the existing limits and enhancing the connection between the islets to the riverfront and the city. Thus, the project found the balance point between the history and nature with the design solution of achieving ecological as well as social resilience.
Okay, thank I want to thank Atelier number one. Hope, Federico, you can maybe come here with me. Very much, all the tutors for sure for the presentation as well as the student. We are the real character of the project. I want now to open the discussion for group per Atelier number one. So I invite all the critics, maybe starting with Professoressa Alessandra Capuano from Roma La Sapienza, who needs to leave in some minutes this session. So, Alessandra, I can give you the floor maybe for the first comment, opening also the our discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe turn on the camera because there is no camera on your part.
Because I am here.
Okay. Ok, no video, va bene. So, well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and congratulations for all of you. I understand how hard it is now to cope with all the students, the project, the different modes of connection and the technologies. And so all my support to you for this difficult condition. I think it's in a way, though, it's part of the time that we are living in this in this epoch with the COVID, and it affects all of us. Also, the ways in which we present our thoughts and our ideas about, like in this case, about a workshop. I have participated in the past to other workshops in Piacenza, so I know how it is to work in this very interesting context that you have created during these years. And I appreciate also the effort from the part of the group that just presented to present in a way that could be interesting on a video, so not with regular boards and regular representation of the projects, but you have made an effort to mount the videos, and I think it's an interesting way for exploring the how you say the way to convey the project. However, I must say it was a little bit difficult to follow, and not only for the technical problems that we had during the presentation, but also because I think that the projects always need to have an explanation of the reasons why are we going in one direction or another. And in this case, I must say that it was very hard to understand the readings that the students did of the context and why they were proposing certain solutions. I would say that except for the last project, probably the number 7, that actually the video and the things that were shown in sequence were clearly stating the idea and the goal of working on the meanders of the river, and thinking some actions to change the environment during certain time lapse. But the fact that these videos, and I'm concentrating very much on the presentation because to understand very well the contents was a problem. And also, I must say, it was a little bit a problem, the fact that finally all these videos were somehow dreaming of a sort of a bucolic scene for the future in a sort of very let's say very easy way, no? Looking at nice birds singing in the skies. And I think that instead the problematics that we have, of course, we all want to have an environment that is clean and well set up for a healthy life and for our well-being and for the well-being of our cities. But I think that in order not to become naive, it would be very important to understand very well and also to convey the process of all this of all this design thought, not only the nice images of the renderings and the birds singing, but which are the problematics and how are we going to be confronted with them. And I felt that except for the final, the project number 7, it was so quick, the way in which I understand that probably part of the things that I'm saying have to do with the very with the need of being quick, presenting things in 2 minutes, and trying to adapt ourselves to these different ways of teaching that we are all experiencing. So I'm aware of this, but at the same time, this has to be for us a challenge as teachers, as tutors, as students, a challenge to understand that if we are changing our means of presentation, we probably need to also change more deeply the way in which we present. And my impression was that some of the images were too much tuned on these bucolic scenes and not really on the process of the landscape project. So I think that for this reason, I mean, this has been to understood as a challenge for us to think better about how to cope with these different ways.
Okay. Alessandro, grazie, thank you.
Yeah.
I have two laptops, so I don't know my computer. Ma però non c'è l'audio. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Alessandro. Thank you very much for your comments. I can see an hand by Dirk. So Dirk is a colleague from the Osnabrück School of Landscape. Yes, well, he's part of the workshop, so he knows perfectly all the development and processes. So your comments will be as well punctual and precise. I'm giving you the floor. Dirk, I guess you have to switch on your audio.
Okay. I'm sorry. So I hope you hear me, and thank you for the presentation. I think for me this presentation was very interesting because we all know the way and reacting also to Alessandra. I think it's maybe a new version and a new possibility to present projects like this with a video. And it's not my age, or I'm maybe too old for this, but I'm really highly interested in the results, because I think, especially if you want to present, and this was the basic idea of the whole project, if you want to present this to politicians or to the public, this is a wonderful possibility to attract the people and to get a kind of feeling for what's going on there, and the dimension of that the whole river is a living thing, and the people are walking and so on and so on. So it's not only by plans and different stages of development, which are static on a normal plan. So it's becoming something which is more acceptable for normal people. And this is a good possibility, I think, for to show this to politicians and to attract them for the good this projects. And as I said in the midterm lecture, I really like the idea to have several different stages. So with a small amount of money, with a short-term period project and a long-term period project. And this was very visible here in these projects, to have something which is small and simple, and you can start right away, make it happen next year, or ask for some money from the European Council or whatever. And all the other things are long-lasting projects, and this was, I think, very powerful presented. And some of these groups have really done a very, very good job, I think. So thank you very much. I was highly attracted. Thank you.
Okay, Dirk.
We can't hear you, Michele. Your mic is off.
Juan Carlos, another part of our design workshop, so I can give you the floor.
È caduta la linea, no?
Can you?
Michele, we couldn't hear you. Can you repeat, please?
Adesso questo facciamo finta che non c'è. Perché sono quelle non quelle della stanza? Perché non vanno quelle della stanza, non sento dietro
Michele, I can hear you.
Juan Carlos, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, we had some problem. So you can go on with your comment.
Okay. Very short comments. I would like to congratulate the entire organization team, the tutors of each atelier, for the work. I think it's really very interesting propositions. It's not a finished proposal. It's not a finished work. Some with bucolics, image, different pictures, or it's not very realistic proposals. But I think is the proposal of this workshop is maybe make a board some ideas to the future, and in this sense, I think is the 7 proposal is a complementary proposals. We can maybe make a project with the different propositions. For example, for me, one of the more interesting proposition are the ecotube. The ecotube is the only group that make a connection with the city, because for the other proposals, my question is how we can go to different places. It's necessary make a connection with the city for going to the border of the river, and in this sense, I think that all the group make some very interesting ideas, and maybe we can say it's a complementary work. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Thank you very much. Before giving the floor to Fabiano, ladies first. Gaia Piccaroli is here with us in presence in this fantastic place, so I can give you the floor for a comment.
Thank you, Fabiano, for. So I'm on this side of the computer. So everybody who are on the other side. Okay. And yes, I would like to maybe connect with the critics that have already been done, especially about the video. because when I was having a look to the works that has been presented, I was thinking to myself that the video is actually an incredible an incredible channel to vehicle a kind of different approach to the project. You know, I was thinking that yes, it's nothing new because we are used to use this story for the Game of Words, but we're already used to video. But actually, the fact that this project has been conceived through the video actually, and not just finished and presented through the video, but actually conceived through a video, as far as I understood. I think it's impacting very much, quite a lot on the projects themselves. And especially I would say that this instrument is impacting on the projects through a look and a very deep insight on the perceptive dimension of these projects. That is actually something that we're in the last already decades, we can say in the last years, we are trying to push as landscape architects, landscape critics, landscape historians, and that I guess these projects are interpreting in a very deep way, in a very strong way, these inputs that also I guess the tutor have been giving to the students in the weather condition, toward the climatic condition, toward the atmosphere, toward all the kind of transformations that the environment in all its kind of different influences can have on the project, the process, the transformation, the fact that the representation has been fixed in a moment, but it was a precise moment of light, a precise moment of weather. I guess it's very, very interesting, and that the video played a role in this by putting it, by portraying the places in movement. So the site is not anymore something abstract, but it comes into the process of the project in a more powerful way, in my opinion. And so that's what I would like to stress. And yes, all the projects were very interesting. So I'm not going to comment everyone. I agree with Juan Carlos that they are complementary in a way, because there are very, they are very, yeah, they touch different aspects. And maybe this bucolic scenery is only a passage through something more precise, but that can really start from this approach, and that really stem from this approach in a way that is very fresh and renewed, in my opinion, and very interesting. Okay. So thank you.
Thank Gaia very much. Now, Fabiano, I don't know what to do because I can see also the hand by Karin Offert. So I guess you have to wait still.
Email first.
Ladies first. So Karin.
Okay, that's fine.
Karin, can you hear us?
Take my place.
I can also wait. I'm not in a hurry. Hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So I can also wait. I'm saying so.
No. You can go on.
No?
Okay. Karin, you can go on.
Well, it's clear that what is striking us most is the tool, no? The tool, the video, in the way that a tool in part determines the contents, no? And that's what we are discussing most. But before I go on with that, I want to thank all the students, of course, but especially the teachers that are just looking around here. Yeah, I see you. That's it. Yeah. For the coherence in formulating the task. No, you were mentioning at the beginning that it goes about time. You were defending something that when you come from the side of architecture, you never take in account, and which is absolutely present in landscape. That is that what you use, the materials as they are alive, they don't stay stable. So time is directly related, and one of the high points of landscape versus, let's say, other types of architecture, if we call landscaping architecture, of course. So this relation between time as something inherent to the contents, but then translating it also to the tool, well, you convinced me absolutely, as you see, no? This was one thing that I thought was very well done in formulating the task. The other one is to, what's the name, acotar, to shorten it down, no? To give it, when you have to do a workshop where in 15 days you have to produce something, one of the main aspects is how you cut off things, no? You have to be very precise in your demands. And I loved this idea of these 3 points, mostly the first and the last one, budget and duration, because usually we do not take them in account. We are much more aware of material, no? We often put material as a condition that is already limiting, no? The wideness of the form of the possibilities, no? But we usually do not use budget. We leave that for, well, you know, people who are not as artistic and fantastic as we are. And we also do not use normally duration, because duration, again, has to do with time. And it seems that architects do not think about time. So thank you very much. I think that, well, I congratulate the students, but it's clear that if there is a good result of the students, it's because the so-called client has formulated very, very clearly and with big intelligence, no, the commitment, right? Okay. So now, to not go on with this thing, but for sure I will enter, because you see I'm enthusiastic about it. I've also been working with video for now like 3 or 4 years, very, very, very little, but I have, no? But first, let me go to the contents, and then I will round it up again with the tool, no? What I feel the groups have in common, and I appreciate it very much, is this idea that with small interventions, you can already obtain something, no? Especially if these interventions have this changing character or this developing character, no? So that there is this constance around the groups, no? That you open some windows, you do not need to open the whole line, no? You plant some sculptures. Fantastic, the idea of planting sculptures that then develop, no? And these sculptures, no, well, point out some places, and by that you are already tracing, no, the whole border, the whole, yeah, linear system, no. At some place it's because you cross it. At another, it's well, then there are others that really do a work along a whole stripe, a whole area, no? But there is this thing behind that you create sort of an organism that more or less living, yeah, that has the ability of extending and of contaminating the rest of the geography without necessity of directly intervening in it, yeah? I love that, and I tell you why. I learned that with somebody you do not even know who he was, Giancarlo Di Carlo, who was the very first who did workshops in ancient times when I was young, yeah? And were very few were admitted to go because it was limited, and, you know, workshops then took place for 2 months, yeah? We established in Italy to do that, yeah? And well, this was in one of the workshops, because I was twice, first as a student and as a teacher. It was a long discussion, and I really still believe on that, no? It has a little bit to do with the famous less is more, no? Okay, so this to the contents. I could go on and on, but I don't punish you with my never stopping verborrea. So to go back to to the tool, to the video, I guess the difficulty is when it jumps from analysis or reading or understanding, no, what is going on there. It has been said by other of the teachers, no, the atmosphere, the ambience, the feeling really how you are, no, and things are coming through the at least four what is it, senses, no, you have the sound and you have the light, and so it's very clear. The difficulty is when it jumps to proposal. How do I present something that we usually still draw and not fix in panels and on a stable support? How do we film that, and how do we get it, no, this character that makes it sort of more alive, no? I have to say I don't know, because what I have done until now with videos is mostly reading. So I was sort of trying to learn from you, and I have to say that some work a little bit better, mostly the ones
Karin, we have lost you. No, lei, no. Karin. No. Juan Carlos, can you hear us? Yeah, it's a problem of Karin.
I can't hear you. It's
okay.
It's okay.
So I guess it's a problem. I guess it's a problem with Karin connection. So we take the opportunity to make 1 minute break. We are changing the group, and I'm sorry, but I pray Fabiano, Barbara, other colleagues maybe to discuss after the group atelier number 2. Sorry, because we are a bit in a hurry. But I'm sure you can understand it. So we make just 1 minute break. I pray students by group number 2, atelier number 2, to prepare with Marco, Antonio, and all the group to present their work. Thank you very much for now. I guess we can start with your atelier. Can you hear us?
Yes. Yes, I can hear. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi. Michele,
You can start. It's fine. So you can present atelier number 2. Lead is my Marco Navarra. I guess Marco is giving us a speech introducing all the group.
Yes, short introduction. Hello, everybody. Can you see my screen? Okay. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you, my tutors, Claudia Cosentino, Dario Felice, and Antonio Rizzo, and all the students for their passion and intensity. It was very strong work. I would like their passion and their intensity in the work. The title we choose for this atelier, Future Planetary Ruins, suggests to thinking the future ruins working with the contemporary landscape. And we thinking about the contemporary landscape as archaeological ruins. In this way, we practice a kind of archaeological architecture. Next, the aim of the atelier has been to design the archaeology of landscape of ruins for future through the transformation of the Turin-Brescia motorway. So we're thinking how to change, how to build the ruin of this highway inside near Piacenza, in the space, in the buffer zone between the Farnesian Wall and the Po River. Next, but how how we thinking about this goal. For sure, this summer school was based on a paradox, very a strong contradiction. We had to work on one place, the Po and Piacenza, but the students were in their own house, in their country, in their home city. So we try to discover the potentiality of this condition. The challenge of our atelier has been exploring the threshold between nature and culture, but especially between reality and imagination. We suggest the student thinking about this contradiction, this paradox between reality and imagination. So we suggest to use to work with these three keywords: the double, the analogy, the assemblage, and we suggest the student to use this word as design tools. So next, the atelier worked. The final result of this work was a video game. We asked the student to build a catalog of elementary pieces of planetary infrastructure and similar landscape, and ask them to assemblage, make an assemblage of this piece in imagining future scenarios for Piacenza. So in this way, we would on the virtual reality of the video games as another possibility to imagine the architect works. So our reality was the video games, and we try to start from the reality of Piacenza, a planetary city, to develop a sort of video game starting from the reality and moving this reality in the imaginary space of the ruins in the video games. Antonio.
At the beginning, thank you, Marco. At the beginning, we divided it into 6 areas of 550 meters along the motorway. These spaces in which our students could be divided and explore these areas. Contemporary, we asked to found into other cities, their own cities, for example, the same or similar condition to understand how and in how many ways the cities were solving this new condition of highways, viaduct, and motorways that are in the middle of historical center, next to the ancient wall, and next to the river banks, the riverside, and etc. So they worked on this parallel, on this analogy, and between cities all around the world that they know, and the city of Piacenza. In order to investigate that, their reading tools were sections and a collection of abacus of elements and atmospheres. And now we are combining everything, because sometimes elements can be really similar, but in places completely away each other. And then we started with this new phase of the process, in which every student got a section to investigate, and then they component all the section into a specific view of landscape and atmospheres. And with this new and really incredible act of preparing a video game, just as a tool to understand and describe and design the strategy for the future and the next step to reimagine this motorway like a ruin. And but I will ask to you that you are there if our students that are going to present their work are ready for the room. Uh,
Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
The microphone, let's see if it's
Michele, Sara, I would like to ask if our students are ready. They, they should present in few seconds. Sorry, we can see you.
Okay. Let's do it like this without need so much.
Antonio, we start with the video games before and then they make...
Ragazzi, ci sentite? Can you hear us?
Ragazzi, noi?
Sì.
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 Adesso sentite bene?
Sì.
Sì, sì.
Speak loudly.
Vi volevamo chiedere, vi chiedevamo se i nostri ragazzi sono già pronti nell'altra stanza col computer.
No, sono già tutti qua.
Ok, perfetto. Allora partiamo. Okay. So let's start with Leiana. She will describe the work of team number one, projected level number into the video game level number one. So please, Leiana.
Okay, in this level. Okay. Okay. In this level, Jacopo's purpose is to create. Jacob's purpose is to create a new utopian community which has a better living environment. He needs to consider transform the abandoned highway from an obstacle to a green passage for residents and to connect the ancient city with the corridor. First, he starts to collect some instruments and materials from the surrounding environment as bricks, plastic, wood, seeds. Meanwhile, he faces enemies as cars and wild animals, but he managed it with the help of some friends. The factory and crane help him to cross the viaduct and build horizontal corridors. Then he succeeds to use the abandoned pillars and beam of the viaduct to create 4 green pavilions. He also turns another abandoned highway into a sightseeing corridor for pedestrians and bikes. Then the next steps are using the collected plastic to build the greenhouse land, the bricks and woods to establish the residential island, light vending structures to sell crops from the greenhouse. Finally, Jacopo and Margaret convince the residents to live in a new area where they can live in a sustainable way.
For the axonometrics, these are the two important parts in our site. The first is the new corridor. The sightseeing corridor is transformed from the original roadway into a bicycle path and sidewalk, connecting the communities on both sides. Then use some of the pillars and beams in the middle of the existing viaduct to make new pavilions and plant vegetation to facilitate people's rapid passage. Also along the viaduct, the original old brick wall was transformed into an art exhibition, allowing people to appreciate the scenery along the viaduct. The second residential island, taking into account the possible flood season on the site, used the collected wood to build suspended houses and built fences along the river, which made by old bricks and wood to protect residents from flood, and people can use boats, which made by wood in the river pool.
Okay.
The next stretch of buffer zone between the city of Piacenza and the river is characterized by agricultural fields and the historic wall, railway line and motorway which forms the main divider. Starting from the city wall garden, Jacopo and Margaret walk along the wall looking for an opening to cross over. Together, they create a green bridge using elements of the wall and viaduct to connect across the railway line, gradually reaching the highway ruins. They then transform this motorway into a linear community park. Jacopo reuses the abandoned structural elements such as railings, pillars, beams, and broken asphalt to create iconic vertical green towers, a community orchard, flower gardens, and pathways. After the renewed experience, they then pass through the agricultural fields, hopping along the existing piles, taking care not to destroy the hard work of the farmers. At this point, they create an observation tower to absorb views of the city and the riverfront. Water view. Eventually, they reach the riverside pavilion after passing through a field of flowers. Being aware of the presence of aquatic animals that need to be left in their natural habitat, they successfully enter the docked boat to view the wonderful changes that they are bringing about along Po Riverfront. Let's walk along with them.
Hi, I'm Patrick, and I want to tell you the storyline of level 3. In level 3, Jacobo meets Margaret, and Margaret tells him, don't forget about the nature, the animals, and the plants in the Po River. So Jacobo gets through the level and have to build something to save animals and make space for animals also. So we decide to make some buildings that are good for animals, like old stone walls with plants for lizards and other things. Yes, because we also want to make a connection between the nature style and the humans. And in the next step, I will show you some of our level parts in detail. And please, next slide. Can you please show the next slide? So this is two examples for our buildings for nature. So on the left side, you see in the flute line, we will, Jacobo have to build like ponds for toads, but it's also a great place for the people who can enjoy the place with water. And so there's a connection between that. And in the second part, you see a glass house and a little house. It's like a museum and a botanical garden with native nature, plants and animals, so the people can come there and learn about the biodiversity in the Po River side. So the people have a better connection to the biodiversity and the natural life in the Po River. And in Germany, we said you can only protect what you know. So it's very important that the people know what lives in their in the area of their houses. So that's the idea of our level, to make a connection between the nature and the humans, and build something new for animals and human in the new line of the highway, and use the ruins for everyone. Thank you.
Dedicated to the dogs of Piacenza. This is because in our section of the area there's a lot of abandoned spaces, and so what better way to make it more livelier by making spaces that can be enjoyed by humans and also animals or dogs. In this particular case, dogs. So it starts at the bottom of the highway. Jacopo arrives and he has to first start this highway to a nice overhang garden. So a bit like the High Line, but essentially it's a resting place for dogs and humans there. And then it's also connected to the sports club. If you see the red tennis courts, it's the sports club area. And then when you cross that sports club, there's this huge green area, and we can transform this into the dog training area. So this is where people run with their dogs and do a lot of activities there. Dogs get hungry, so up there, where there's an abandoned industrial area, we can turn them into a food factory for dog food. So they can get their feed there, but also dogs can get sick. So right up on the top of the screen, and that's where some of the neighborhood residential areas near the AUSL, which is the health center. We can also make the veterinary center for the dogs. So and then it's right also next to the Arena Naturi, where the track can also maybe sometimes we can use it for dog racing. So keep the dogs healthy and satisfaction. And so moving on from there to the left side, back towards the Po River, just near the bridge, there is right now it's an abandoned bridge area, and we think that's not a safe area to cross because there's a lot of power electric towers there. And so we specifically make it into a danger zone that the player cannot cross there. And also towards the river, there are some poisonous plants that they must tackle. And when they cross the river, there are piranhas, and then there are, but on the other island of the river, there are geckos that they must preserve by planting more trees. And these are accidental views of our highways, which are transformed into an overhead park, and also we can keep the columns, change the canopy into resting places for dogs and animals. Yes, this is part of our Thank you. Since we are in a game, so let's talk in terms. Hello. Since we are in the game now, we'll be talking in terms of game language. So we have successfully entered in level 5 of the game, and so let's understand the plot story. So we have 4 levels to cover. So section 1. Jacobo arrives at the river. He sees the river condition and notices very few gaming areas nearby. But he wonders why no people are there playing in this beautiful setting. He decides to connect the river with a fishing deck to attract more people. Unlocks section 2. He moves ahead and discovers a bunch of industries. He has an idea. Why not turn these industries into something that will make the area more lively, like a museum? Unlocks section 3. Jacobo now sees a barrier and he says, "Oh no, it's a huge bridge." Jacobo now sees a barrier and says, "Oh no, it's a huge bridge." No wonder why people don't know about this river. He makes an urban park under the bridge. Unlock section 4. Jacobo now crosses the bridge and he is terrified to see very busy railway line. Even if people want to come here, they cannot. So he makes a pedestrian bridge over the track. So now this is how he unlocks all the 4 levels and impresses Duchess Margaret. He takes Margaret to the old chimneys of the factories and shows her
Il y a un problème avec la connexion.
Shivali? Shivali, we can't hear you.
We lost you.
Yes.
We lost the real place. We just in the imaginary space. We lost Piacenza. Piacenza.
Piacenza brucia.
We lost Piacenza.
It's very sad. I just started to love the story, so
helping for asking for the end of the story. waiting for the end.
Yeah. The technical problems are still something we have
the real world is very problematic. Only the virtual is work.
Game.
We are only spirit, not physical.
So only Piacenza is out from the connection, right?
It seems so.
Okay, we just lost the
all the
connection.
rest has fun. So
Piacenza, Apollo 1 a Piacenza 1.
We are back. We had a connection.
Okay.
Okay, I will continue. In the animation, we have seen that how these small yet effective interventions along the city edge has helped connect the city and the community within the space. So we will now discuss the 2 major interventions in detail. The first major intervention is tackling the issue with the inattentive natural buffers. The river edge has a scenic beauty on the one side, while the leisure amenities on the other side.
but no connectivity from the city center. Hence, solving it by the creative city connections and the fishing decks with the seasonal boating facilities along the river. The second major intervention in tackling the issues with the dead void spaces under the viaduct via proposing urban park under the bridge. The interactive, vibrant spaces designed for the all age groups, such as wall climbing, city arcades play areas, sports activities, open gymnasium, etc. The above proposed urban intervention in the form of pixels format and compiling in a game mode gives a fresh perspective to look at the problems of the city and solving it in an interactive way.
It's just for the here is for the month, so you have to. Okay, this is the last level, and the story of this is mainly connecting the two protagonists, Jacobo and Margaret. Jacobo is arriving to the city center and should cross along the many barriers like the railway, the viaduct, and as well the industrial district, which is disconnected from the riverside and city center. So the challenge is connecting these two parts. So Jacobo should build a bridge crossing the railway, and also rising to the viaduct, you should convert it to the ruin.
Oh, stop. Leave. Okay, right.
Okay.
Very
so, yeah, as we see here on the axonometry, on the axonometry, the viaduct is converted to a ruin for suspended garden, which can be connected by slopes or bridges and staircases. And some parts of the viaduct can be demolished and reused as a sitting area and for different purposes in the garden. Then crossing this viaduct, the industrial district, which is concrete surface, can be converted to a green maze, which can lead Jacobo to the river where Margaret is waiting for him. So finally, on the river, there is a floating platform which can be built by the demolished elements from the viaduct. Then finally, Margaret is waiting him on the island of the river where they can meet together. And yeah, that will be the end, and they will leave the city by a boat. Yeah.
Okay. We can reintroduce here in Houston, not in Piacenza. Okay, we have an applause. Okay, that is also for group number 1 because we haven't done an applause to you. I don't know if we have won your video game, but thank you very much for this presentation. Now I want to join. I want to involve the colleagues. I guess, well, Fabiano, you have to say something from the previous group. Then maybe Marco, you are here. No, you have to. Marco is here in this physical location, trying to understand something. But I can involve you and our other comments by colleagues. Marco, tu vieni qua, dai. Okay, Fabiano, you can talk.
Okay, thank you, Michele. Well, I guess the other group is probably already celebrating, so they might not be there to hear my comments now, but you pass them on if they're not there. I thought that the studio was set up in a very interesting manner, defining the concepts, the climatic conditions, the keywords, the budget, specific, time frame. I think that was very interesting and also potentially triggering a level of creativity that could lead to some depth in the proposal. So I thought this was a fantastic idea. So congratulations to the studio organizers. I thought that the students took on the challenge frontally. Although I felt that in some cases the creation of the argument was to some extent not as connected as it could have been. In some cases I couldn't quite see the connections between the particular conditions that were set out at the beginning and actually how the work developed. For example, group number one had the word contamination, very important challenge. And I couldn't really see much of that in the video itself. So I felt that in a way, it comes back to what has been said already, that's this idea of what nature we are talking about. So what vision of landscape was being depicted by the students. And in that sense, I felt that a little bit more focus on the challenges, the problems that they were attempting to address would have helped in building that argument. Because the initial premises were there. We saw, in a way, the conclusions, but sometimes I felt that this transition between the premises and the conclusions, how you articulate them, could have been a little bit more clearly developed and also signposted to us in the videos. Now, sometimes I felt that there was a little bit of a jump between the kind of the initial reading to the project itself, and I was struggling to understand how we got to that particular position. But having said that, I thought that it was really stimulating, intriguing, and I felt that I'm sure students had a lot of fun, and the tutors as well, in running this kind of exercise. As I'm already speaking, I'll just make a very brief comment about the second lot now. I thought this was fascinating. It was just a shame that I couldn't hear very well all the students presenting. So perhaps you might be able to share with us the PDF or a kind of documentation where we can go through. I thought that was very inspiring, very elaborate, for the time you had. So I was wondering when you're going to launch your game, maybe on a mobile app store, so we can start playing with Jacobo. That would be really interesting. The only thing I wasn't really sure is I don't understand what the word abacus was meant to mean. So I didn't quite get the relationship between that and the project. As far as I understand, abacus is a counting, ancient counting instrument. So I didn't get that. But other than that, I thought it was fascinating. So well done to everyone.
Grazie, thank you, Fabiano. But you don't need to have a PDF because you can buy the video game in a few.
Yeah, we will release the next version soon.
Downloading from marcoandantonio.com.
Okay, I hope we are going to get a discount. Yeah.
For sure, okay.
Apple Store is available in Apple Store.
Yes, I would love to see that. Yeah, but I have Samsung, so you need to kind of do the Android version as well, please.
You have to test.
Congratulations.
Marco is close to me, so I want to involve him in a comment.
No problem, I have a lot of voice. Don't worry.
It's interesting to speak after the two atelier because it's very different. The first one is more related to the nature and is like to come back in the past. And the second one is in the direction of the future. And the nature became a man-made nature and changed a lot. This is the first differences between the two works, and it's interesting that in the same workshop, it's possible to develop so different solution proposals. And not proposals, I can say suggestion to think about the places, the local situation. The second one, the video game, continuously to surprise me. I speak about surprise in one of the midterm review, and I reinforce my idea. It is a surprise. I think that for the tools, it's necessary to stress more on the single parts, the elements of the atoms. Instead, it's only a game, but you make a game now. It's not a real, it's not a tool for reality. But I think it's useful to understand something that can be changed in an unexpected direction. I think this is the surprise is that you ask us that live in Piacenza, that work in Piacenza, to think in a different way, okay? In a different way, what you traditionally think in other ways. Thank you for your work, and I think it's a very good result in this strange, very strange situation. Thank you very much for everybody, and also for the Atelier #1.
Okay, I guess we have time for one or two more brief comment. I want to ask Juan Carlos, Karin, or Dirk, if you are there to say something.
Maybe, yes, I want to say some words. I made a great effort to follow the logic of the game and the different levels. Maybe I didn't understand everything, sorry, but it's a real and very interesting work and proposals. For me, the interest of this exercise, beyond the specific project's proposal, it's on the one hand the concept of play of game, which open up the possibility of discovering the territory differently. It's a tool to creating links with population, and in particular with the new generation. And this is a very real interest. On the other hand, most of the level, the different levels seek to create links with the city. And from my point of view, this is the question which is the heart of the problem. And for me, this is the two different appreciation. The tool for make a link with the new generation, and a reflection about the link with the town, with the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Juan Carlos as well. Maybe Karin, Dirk, do you want to give us one comment, one extra comment?
Okay, I can go on. Sorry for my disappearance before.
Just the last part of the previous comment, if you want to recover also.
It was nearly okay and nearly finished, so it's okay. And the problem is always that we have no time afterwards to go on, no? I mean, this since we are online, no? Before all what you still had in mind, you could comment, no, at the dinner or whatever you had to celebrate afterwards. No, this time it will not be possible, but maybe we meet somewhere else sometimes. Actually, I'm very happy because through the screen I've met two persons that for a long time I hadn't seen. That is Juan Carlos, so hola, and the other one was Alessandra. No, anyway. Yeah, I was thinking that this thing with the video joke is very appealing. Of course it is. And it is very appropriate, in my opinion, for a workshop. No? Because it is a very strong idea that puts together all the people involved, which often is a difficulty, no? To make something that has this consistency. Here it's clear, probably also the ones who are in front of the group, the teachers, I mean, had sort of a way to convince quickly, no, the students to work with this tight logic, no, that tells you all the time what you have to do. That for me works very well in a workshop, where you cannot lose your time, no? You have to be efficient. And so if you have a very structured thing in both, let's say, conceptual but also physical terms, well, it's a sort of guarantee that it will come to an end, no? So I think that is very well done. Also, this idea of closing the circle, no? Because they start with a short analysis of their own place or town, putting it in contact with Piacenza, seeing the similarities. And at the end, what the video game is telling us is that whatever levels you are playing, it could be applied to any town or to many towns or to many situations that are similar. Actually, the video game at the end is not on Piacenza. It's a sort of abstract, no, of things that can happen on towns close or along rivers, no? So in that term, I want to see it in positive, because if I would be asked, is this something that will help Piacenza to solve the at least some of the problems of this huge problematic along the shore, no? I would say, well, it will probably not help. What it will be is keep the attention, no? It is things are explained. It's a little bit like a joke, no? What this idea of the video game. When you hear a joke first time, you are caught, no? And you laugh and you will remember it, but it does not work at the second time, no? So in that sense, I think it is fantastic for a workshop, but probably it would not work if you were asked really to solve some of the aspects, no, of that Piacenza is dealing with, no. But well, we have at every time we have to know how to answer, and in that sense, I think it's appropriate how you worked, right? So my congratulations also to Atelier too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karin. Also, I don't know, other comment, Dirk or Gaia? No. Okay, maybe later. Dirk, do you want to add something? Otherwise, we can shift to atelier number 3. Okay, so give us. Okay, thank you, Marco, thank you, Antonio, thank you all the students, also the one that were present here for your ideas and video game. Now we are shifting to atelier number 3. Just give us 3 minutes to change the lecturer and the computer, and we are back in 2 minutes for 4:30 for the last presentation. Thank you very much for now.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back. So we can go on with atelier number 3. The title of the work is Mapping Ideas, Designing Places. Francesca is close to me, too close because of COVID. We cannot sit so close. I'm giving the floor to Valerio for your introduction. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Just I would like to say a few words, and then Francesca will explain very well all the process we followed for this workshop, this summer school. As the title says, Mapping Ideas, Designing Places was a workshop to not to think about limits of Piacenza, but thinking about the opportunities that these limits can promote, can have in the development of the Piacenza's landscape. And we ask students to discover, mapping their ideas, to discover which kind of opportunities they would like to keep from the landscape of Piacenza. And we followed the precise process, and we never ask students to follow some particular ideas. They were free, but just we help them to have a kind of consistency into the entire day process in doing this summer school. So please, Francesca, explain the process we used for this exercise we did with our students. And thanks a lot for your work and to help us to do the summer school.
Thanks, Valerio. So our work, the work of our atelier, has been organized following 3 steps that have been achieved through 5 exercises. The first request was to produce freehand drawings, relying on memories, trying to give a shape to what stuck in the mind of the student at the first presentation of the site of Piacenza and the Po River. Then we asked to re-examine with respect of site, of the cartography and the physicality of the site. And in so doing, each group stressed the idea of limits in different manners, giving a synthetic draw and a manifesto, a title manifesto. After giving a shape of their imagination, we asked them to this third exercise, shape a strategy, that it consists of transforming sign into strategic intervention moves. The overall strategy was then implemented and made it explicit through a further step. So students were asked to stress the relationship between the perception of limit, choosing a specific space, following tangible or intangible elements. Finally, this exercise led to the last step, designing places, as a natural process of unfolding, of unfolding. The definition of places is not be so intended as a creation of physical and enclosed spaces, but rather as a revealing tool. So I will give the floor to the first group that is present.
Hello, everyone. We are here to present our vision on Po River called Landscapes Through the Unobserved. The main idea is to give people a different way to perceive the riverfront, highlighting the natural transformation of the spaces due to the seasonal changes and the human recognition and the relative perception. So we were focusing on this aspect that when a view is experienced on a daily basis, it becomes something ordinary, we take it for granted. So somehow we ruin it, somehow we become disrespectful to the nature. So we documented the perceptions along the riverside and purposefully hid them behind the porous walls And in this way, we can say that we enhance the perception in a very different way. So we arouse curiosity by the rhythm of visual barriers and openings, propose different types of visual barriers. Some are more open, some are more closed and natural and solid. And then the rhythm of the barrier varies according to the typology, spacing, heights, and perforation of the elements. So with this, we intend to create some labyrinth entrances and four main consolidated paths to observe and experience the natural transformation of the landscape during each time of the year. So we strategically selected this area, which goes from the more natural part to the urban area of the site. And we imagine this space in four parts, which are representing four seasons. So we call the perforations as truth windows, through which we can frame the changes in each season that we can see from far. Here comes our imagination of the space with a developed vegetation strategy. The vegetation strategy includes the canopy trees and the understory trees, some shrubs and bushes, grasslands, and we also have wet biotops that are arranged considering the each season's color, height, density, etc. Moving to summer, we experience more here in spring, Here in spring, we can see different types of flowers, pollinators, the flowers bloom, so we can actually go into the nature towards the water. And here in the schematic section, we can see the height and density, and we also proposed a color palette to show the colors of spring. And then moving to summer, we experience more canopy trees and shrubs to enjoy our visual perception passing through the lush green. So we can actually reach near the water in summer, and in autumn. In autumn, we prefer the walkway not reaching the water and stay near the grassland and bushes. The barrier becomes more enclosed here. And finally, in winter, our visual perception reaches far through the wall. So we stay near the wall, but because of the changing nature of the trees, we have a different visual perception. And we determined to separate these four openings to the riverside and open each opening in each season and let this ecology grow in the meantime. So here comes our imagination of the barrier. It is enhancing the perception through the unobserved. So this is our final illustration, and thank you for watching.
Skip to the second group. Who is going? Jeff, Jensen, Sally. Are you? Okay. You can just tell me when I can skip to the next slide. Just tell me next.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. The project Redefine the Dam began with notification of the relationship between new dam and old ancient wall. Next page, please. Next page, please. Okay. Through mapping phase, we found out the limits of structural expressions and constructions rules, which make the dam less noticeable compared with the ancient wall. Next page, please. But in real experience, when people interacting with the dam, they can feel the transversional landscape, which is interesting because it's not only create a linkage with the Pop River, but also the environment and the city. Next page.
Just 1 second, we have a connection issue here.
Okay.
No. È il mio computer che ha il problema. Qual è il problema? Il mio computer o quello di Michele? Non mi sa.
Che ancora li vedo là. No, perché pure prima non lo vedevo. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we fixed it. Okay, we can go on.
Okay. Next page, please. Through the previous analysis, we know that from field to urban to industrial, the landscape, the will, the material is changing, which continually affecting people's perceptions and also implies people that they are experience something from traditional to noble or from noble to traditional, the same opposite of the Asian war and the damned. Next page.
We
Okay. So our group makes some strategies which aim to activate the damned and unite it as a whole to give people an integrated impressions of what is it, how it look like, and the strategies will be divided into two phases. The first phase focuses on unity by working on vegetational planning, species choosing with good leading character to highlight the morphologies of the whole site. Also, they should have good adaptability with soil, pollutions, and ability of fast growing and color changing with seasons. The second phase focuses on connections and navigations with different character area. This was achieved with mapping phase, which helps finding out the special elements and the regional features. This phase will be completed inside specific viewing point in different area, highlighted the unchangeable core of the dam, which is the view people can see from the dam. So we have 5 viewing spots. The spot 1 and the spot 2 located on the rural area. They use the herringbone brick as the main materials, which we found on chapels and the farmhouse. Next page, please. And then next page. Spots 3 and spots 4 located near the city's entrance, so their identific material change differently, and their routes are mainly the port river because they are so close to the river bank. Next page, please. And the next page. Finally is the spot 5, which located near the industrial zone. We mainly use the stained steel, which is inspired from the old electricity factory and other factories. The next page. This viewing point basically using the height difference of the city infrastructure to reach the views people can saw, which will stimulate different emotions when people are having interactions with the dam, combined with the brand new trees added, so that's to change people's impressions for the dam, and that is how we redefined it. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have group 3, Sara and Teresa.
Primates, whether tangible or intangible, create lines in which we can find different patches and create the mosaic of the city. Next one, please.
Teresa, we cannot hear you.
I wasn't able to see the screen, I'm sorry. Our first approach was to analyze the city of Piacenza like a mosaic, following the different lines, limits, and borders in order to find different patches that can define the city. New textures and pieces show up as we zoom in and out in scale. We choose to zoom in different places in the city, like the center, the edges of the historic wall, and the entrance from the city to the river, and last in the green area in the north of the city. Next one, please. We decided to take one patch from the mosaic of the city and transform it into one green natural piece. We aim to reinforce the ecological wall in the city and to build a forest. It can be enhanced using natural techniques like ecological corridors, green barriers, and wet edges. Next one. Ecological corridors are very important to ensure the connectivity of the forest and for the transport of the fauna. The green barrier protects against the pollution coming from the highway, and the wet edge protects the river's ecological system and retains the water in case of floods. Next. In the north, bordering the river, we can see the wet edge, and around the railway, the barrier. Going under the bridge, we can see the corridor, the ecological corridor. All these elements work as a system to protect the core area of the forest. Next. Here, these sections show the ecological corridor and how it's going under the bridge, relating both parts of the forest. And in the second one, we can see the railway and the green barrier that surrounds it from both sides to protect from the pollution and the sound. Next, please. As we know, our vision can't happen overnight. We want to imagine how it will look like now and in the future. We can see in the top section how none of the trees are mature yet and how the skyline is completely different from the second section. And on the right, there's the different species that work best with the system and the different ecological functions. Next one. And for the future, we don't aim to create one green patch in the mosaic of the city, but we hope that our proposal will be a starting point in the creation of a big urban forest that protects Piacenza and makes the city more resilient. We can see how with time the expansion of the green areas will take place and how the CO2 levels in the air will be reduced. And in the far future, once the urban forest is mature, we think of creating a path which people can take and discover different aspects of the forest and the river. Thank you.
Next group, please.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. The title of our project is Going with the Flow. And for us, it was a very interesting topic to deal with, the dynamic and natural movement of the river, with the floodable ponds, fields, riparian forests, and the flood-resistant crops, for example. So we focused on that. Next page, please. In this picture, you see a circle, which shows kind of minimalistic style of Piacenza and the River Po, with its movement before, during, and after flooding. Next page, please. To explain our idea and how we got to the design, we analyzed maps of Piacenza, including flooded areas, former military zones, and so on. To our opinion, the river should move how it wants to move and not forcing it to flow in a certain way, even to be resilient in the city in case of local climate adaptation by buffer zones. We also want to save and increase the biodiversity because there are only a few nature reserves along the river, which are all in bad conditions. No, one page back, please. Yep. So we picked these military zones and designed a buffer zone, a biodiversity park, and a nursery, which can be experienced by the people too. In this way, it is possible to replant the nurseries trees in the buffer zone when floodings have destroyed them, which guarantees a permanent resilience against flooding in the city. Okay, next page, please. This section shows the design with the nursery on the left side, which brings the trees to the riparian forest as a buffer zone near the city. Yeah, next, please. This is a view of the river in flooded conditions. And as you can see, the people enjoy it and have no fear about it. And the biodiversity, for example, the white storks and the cattle egret likes it too. Next page, please. Yeah, this is one example of the riparian forests. This is an important ecosystem for lots of rare species. And yeah, it's important that people can take part of it and experience nature and learning something from it. So you can see beavers here, maybe black storks, kingfishers, and lots of other rare animals. Yeah, next page, please. This is our final map and shows a kind of vision for future with a heterogenic landscape along the river and kind of network which all are connected, network of ecosystems which are all connected. So in our design, we dealt with 5 limits to first unleash the river and giving space for its dynamic. Second, using unused areas. Third, dissolve limits for species to extend their ranges and create a network of ecosystems. Fourth, to open the opportunity for the people to enter and experience these areas, for example, by flooded docks through the riparian forests. You can see one example in this picture too. And fifth, to dissolve the mental limit that flooding usually is seen as something bad and destructional. So we want to show that this process is an important part of nature and has something aesthetic too. Yeah, that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have the 5th group. So Violeta, Nahid, and Pratyusha. Which is here. Nahid. You can start.
Hello everyone, we are group number
We
5.
cannot hear you.
Hello.
No.
Hello.
Nahid.
Hello.
No.
Just a second.
You have to speak loud. Try to say something.
Hello.
Nahid.
I don't
Try.
know, there's some problem. Hello.
Yes, I think just don't use the
earphones.
headphones.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, yes. Go.
Okay. Hello everyone, we are group number 5 and the topic we are presenting is microstories. Piacenza is a city formed around the river and major infrastructure. During the time, connection between the city and the river has been lost. However, there are many memories created in time showing how close people were with the Po. Thus, we started collecting as many images as we could of moments in time and look closely into their stories. We call them microstories. They start at the river and then they spread throughout the city. Next slide, please. So we tried to map them in the current landscape as lost fragments of history and show them through virtual reality technology placed at specific points. These points are connected through an app, creating a new virtual journey through time. Then we decided to recreate some of these past fragments by designing places and interventions which will be generated from the vision of micro stories. Next slide, please. Our consistent site of design is one of the islands of the Po. First, we are working on an ecological aspect of the island and the river. So we analyzed the land-water edge line over the past 10 years to get an idea of the site condition and develop landscape topology. We worked on an ecological corridor taking in consideration the problems related to flood and water pollution to enhance the biodiversity, and finally, how flora, fauna, and human are interacting with each other to create a healthy ecology and community. Next slide, please. So we designed a linear pathway throughout the island consisting of an observatory tower, a bar, and a pavilion.
that are all connected to the other side of the river with a temporary bridge made of boats coming from shapes and lines extracted from the postcard. This pathway, however, is just not a straight line. It includes many activities like recreational spaces, marketplace, leisure, exhibition area, and so on. Then we invented new environmental microstories out of imagination and placed them along the straight pathway. These are specific spots where one can put on the VR glasses and feel closer to the nature. For example, we have stories about squirrels, butterflies, silkworm, bird show, and many more. Next slide. To make the island attractive, we took our inspiration from the structure of one of the old bridges and used it as the main structural element of our landmark. The bar overlooks the bird sanctuary and beach. The observatory tower overlooks the whole island and part of the city. And finally, we have the silk pavilion around the mulberry trees. And for the pathway, we tried to break the monotonous line by placing the structure only in certain areas. Next slide, please. So here you can see the micro stories coming from the memories and coming from the new imaginative visions of a landscape. To conclude, we tend to create two dimensions of storytelling, linking imagination with past and present, make people aware of the changing landscape of the river. Although we are not partially solving problems, our intention is to show the changes in time that resulted into the problems of today and genuinely reflect on the importance of Po River through little postcard and light interventions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. So we have the sixth group.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we are group 6 and our topic is transitional chances. Please next one. Next page. And we use emotional transformation method to reproduce important traces that change the city during urban development and let people to perceive them. Please next page. And the first is emotion is transformed in typographic changes and also transformed in color changes because sometimes color can tell us emotion like red means enthusiasm. And the third one is transformed in plant structure changes using canopy space of plant. And the plant encloses the space to reflect different emotions. Page. And we strategize this trace line and make a big strategic map, mark a special form in this line directly around this trace line. The space enclosed by typography changes, powering colors, and plants are all reflected in this map. And you can see clearly that there are different special experiences when walking through this trace line and feel the city how it changes. Please next change. And then we choose a chance to example, which is a bridge built during Industrial Revolution, and we use a similar structure of the bridge to build a wheeling path platform. Walking through paths, we can wears different on both sides of the river, and also have chance to get close to the water. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So group number 7.
Hello everyone, we are group 7. Let's start. When we enter a space, we will profoundly affect how we feel in space. So we choose entrance as the starting point to expand our design and try to find the potential point from the limits. Next page, please. We have 3 keywords. The first one is porta. We choose some entrances of the site as the porta of the Po River. Want to strengthen the scene of the entry. People have different behaviors in different scenes, staying or passing by. During this process, the scenario is a very important part. We hope every step for change of scene for you to enjoy. Our goal is to create a participatory, fresh experience a scene of landscape space. By using the porta and the scenario of the Po River, I want to give you a deep impression on the memory of the Po River. Next, please. As you can see, we strengthened the three entrances, number 1, 3, and 6. We used the green corridor that starts from the city center to connect the city and the entrance. Let people enter the site. We strengthened the scene of the entrance. An arched structure is designed under the bridge with some infrastructures to strengthen the narrow space, and the surrounding open space is used to design the entrance park. In addition, we used the green path and some functional elements to connect the entrance and the Po River. Next, please. And here are some details of our design to think about the landscape of limits, starting from the entrance and to think about the relationship between city and Po River. Next, please. This is our project. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have the last group, Yining. Yining, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go. It's your turn.
Hello everyone. We're Group 8. We have never been to Piacenza, so we explore the site using online tools. As we visit the city from the grand view, one thing attracts our attention is the skyline. As you can see in below, we analyze different kind of sites from city to the river and realize that every sort of landscape has its own shape of skyline. According to that, we want to use skyline as a language to show the information of site. We focus on three evident features of Piacenza: farmland, Piacenza the city, and factory. And we find skylines for each feature to understand how they are connected to the Po River. We summarize the typical landscape of limits under each skyline and ordered them by how much they are related to the Po River. Next, please. And our design strategy is to give solution to each limit. After that, apply solution on specific site and finally create a new skyline. Next, please. So here are our solutions and how they make change to the landscape. For farmland, we hope to conserve water and soil, purify water pollution, purify soil contamination, and enrich biodiversity. Next, please. And for Piacenza, we hope to preserve the biodiversity, use rainwater garden to deal with rainflood problem, block noise pollution, and collect solar energy for daily use. Next, please. And for the factory, we hope to collect natural energy for industry and purify industry with water and purify air pollution, soil pollution, and block pollution from industry to agriculture. Next, please. And we did a specific design using some of the design strategies suitable for the site. Next, please. Next, please. So from left to right are the Po River, riverbank, farmland, highway, houses, and the wall. We designed 5 new skyline: conservation skyline, energy skyline, decontamination skyline, insulation skyline, and rainwater skyline to solve different problems. And together they form the new skyline of the site. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, group Atelier number 3. Thank you, Valerio and Francesca, all the students. So we are opening now the last discussion moment. I ask the colleagues that they are still connected. So I have seen Fabiano, Dirk, Juan Carlos. I have seen also Enrique Pessoa. We want to say hello to you if you want to say something. And I want also to involve Gaia Piccarola and Marco Mareggi, who are here in Chiesa del Carmine. Want to start? I'm giving the floor to Gaia, then the other colleagues.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, thank you also to this group, to the students who have made a lot of work actually, and unfortunately I have to say that I lost the introduction. It's my fault. I was outside, so I've been struggling a little bit to put together the pieces to understand exactly which is the link between the old projects. So, but I guess it's my fault because I lost the introduction. So, what I thought from the whole sequence of the project is that there is a stress on ecology, on ecological dynamics that I think that is very, very interesting. I also appreciated in some of the projects, so I appreciated a lot some of the conceptualizations, the micro stories, the emphasis on these certain spatial and perceptive categories of the landscape, such as the door, the skyline. There are a lot of good ideas, a lot of good inputs, a lot of work. What I think is maybe, but it could be also because I lost some pieces, that relating to what Karin Offert was saying about the group 2, there is a sort of, I felt the lack of an imagery, of a conceptualization, of a more clear imagery that put together all the projects, and that maybe could be more impacting in communicating the ideas and communicating which is the world, the imagery in which these projects are moving, into which these projects are relating. So in a way, if the second group was pushing a lot on communication and on finding a common ground to make a statement and maybe go less in deep into the resolution of some specific points, specific problems. I guess that this third group is the other way around, is the opposite in this sense, because they are really working on some specific nodes and they're trying to find solutions and actual solution and intelligent solution as well to the problems. But being a workshop, I feel the lack. I don't know, maybe I can also put this into question for discussion, but feel the lack of a bit of conceptualization and strength on the imageries around the projects.
Okay, thank Gaia very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I ask from Piacenza to the world who wants to tell something. Dirk, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for your presentations. I'm really impressed about all the graphics. I think the way how you bring together all your different ideas on those sketches and the plans and the sections and so on is really very impressive. And for this short period of time, and I know how difficult it is to work as a group. I mean, this is something that's maybe necessary to tell for all of you guys from all the different groups that it's really hard to work together, even when you have the distance, and bring together different ideas and argue and discuss. But you brought it all together in a final result, and all these results are really nice to see and very well presented. And so congratulations to all of you. But I want to remind one thing, which I was really was a kind of eye opener for me. This was in the group 7. The idea of the porta and the arch. The arch, this flowing element with something unusual in red. And suddenly when you see this is only one element, this is a one element, but this element gives you so many new visions of this space because it's connecting as a new element, which is an addition to an existing element, but it's much stronger than this highway. And this was such a beautiful picture, and it was, yeah, very inspiring for me. And yeah, to get such a good idea in such a short time is really something very nice. So thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Dirk. I want to say, opening other question, maybe Marco wants to say, to say something also. I want to just to stress one point. You have mentioned it about the graphic. For sure, and your comments are fantastic in order to understand all the differences. We have seen three very diverse points of view and points of make graphic and make communication of the design. And that's fantastic also in order to understand the potentiality of such a workshop as this webcam. Maybe the distance between all of us where we're working in this direction to make diverse type of representations and graphics.
No, I think it's very important because also for our students, when I kept in touch all the time, it was some new ways of presenting. I mean, the normal plan they know, but with a movie and with a game and so on, this is something you have to work in a totally new situation, and you were thrown into the water and then you have to swim. And this is something which is even with a digital version now, it worked out and it is fine. The results are very good. Thank you. And also congratulations to all the tutors and to the professors and the colleagues that you all organized it in such a perfect way. Thank you. But this, maybe I have to say that later again. So.
Thank you very much. Marco is close to me. You want to say something about it?
Thank you for these groups, this atelier. I think we can underline that pay real attention to the present. I think that in this group we can appreciate the development of the place solution that is different and sometimes with a little of provocation that try to understand in what way it's possible to change the places, and I think it's really useful this. And also this is another way to underline the differences between the three ateliers that have really different perspective but can be interesting for the same place in Piacenza. Thank you for the groups.
Okay, thank you, Marco. I guess we are going to the conclusion of this session. So I want to involve in the final discussion also other colleagues, maybe the ones who cannot talk a lot. And it's also the occasion to thank all of you for your presence in this during this session. I mean, it's not so simple to mix insight and presence and distance presentation. We have managed it. I don't know, I hope we can add a good prompt of what our students and for sure supported by the tutors and professor have worked during these 2 weeks. Maybe Fabiano, you have attended a lot of our events, lectures as well. Maybe you want to say something to close this session. Or Juan Carlos as well. I don't want
Thank you, Michele. No, I really enjoyed the whole session. I thought that it was rather exciting to see different approaches to the different studios, as well as the outcomes that each of them have produced. We, in the last one, saw perhaps we could call a more traditional way of representing and thinking about landscape with the maps, but actually it was taken a very imaginative way, reflecting upon key concepts that students were able to put forward and elaborate in this period of time, I thought, in a very clear and professional manner. So I thought that, as you're saying, overall, we have three very different studios having very different approaches, but the three of them producing very exciting and interesting documents. So in fact, it would be good to see a collection of that somehow, and how, in fact, this could be put together, giving given the fact that we have different media being used. But I just want to congratulate also the last group for the professional, inspiring way in which they faced the challenge.
I take the opportunity for your comments, Fabiano, also to remember that we have a very nice, I guess, website dedicated to the workshop. It's landscapeoflimits.org, and it is a site that we intend also not just as a window shop of what we have done during these 2 weeks, but we would like to implement it during times during next month, and maybe for next events, and maybe also opening it to other schools and partners to upload materials and the ideas and visions. Our idea, okay, we have started from a distance and virtual modality. We can take the maximum this modality can offer us. So maybe one of the, I was mentioning the school partners. Dirk is from Osnabrück, from Toulouse, Juan Carlos, and maybe your comment can be the final one of this session, if you are still there and you want to tell something also about the last group. Juan Carlos? I cannot hear us, so doesn't matter. We can meet him later during the final. Okay, okay.
Yeah. It's the microphone. Thank you very much for the presentation. It's really very interesting, and it's maybe a more concrete approach, mapping and designing places. The intervention of specific places is really interesting. Before commenting on Atelier number 3, a general comment, I find that each of the ateliers offer from a global vision specific interventions, the micro projects, and in this sense I find that there are very interesting proposals, and for the authorities it's a big panel to choose different point of view, but maybe we can talking about this at the end of the workshop. The Atelier number 3 offer a more linear reflection, parallel to the river. Maybe only the group that talks about the corridor, the porta, highlights a more direct link with the city, and I repeat, that is the main issue from my point of view, because the landscape of the river and the territory, it's with a very strong link with the city, and is necessary to find the connection, the corridors, the ecotubes, or the different forms for make a membrana to make a living the river and the city at the same time. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Juan Carlos, too. I want to thank all the colleagues participating in the discussion. We cannot forget an applause for Atelier number 3, because we haven't done it. And it's an applause also for all this session. I guess now we can have half an hour of break for Piacenza-based people. We can go to have a look to Po River, maybe, to to test it, at least to Palazzo Farnese, to check the video games and Vignola and so on. And we are meeting here in the virtual room for who wants, okay, for our special lecture, closing lecture by James Corner at 6 p.m. So still thank you very much to all of you.